Hey, welcome back. So I wanted to do a part two because I wanted to break down my story a little more. I did get a couple of text messages saying, oh, it would have been nice to hear this or would have been nice to see that. So the last time we met, I told you that I left my corporate job as in management for several years in insurance, and I decided to leave, break cold turkey without securing anything. My journey starts off with me growing up very poor. I didn't have a lot growing up. I grew up in a home with a single parent who was an immigrant. So I didn't really learn the things that I need to learn to make myself successful. I think a lot of my upbringing had been about survival. And when I got into before middle school, when I was in 5th grade, I had a teacher who recognized my potential. So she made sure that I was aware of what they called, I don't know if they still call them this, but a magnet program, which basically was higher education for grade school students who had specialties. And my specialty would have been singing. So this was a magnet program for performing arts school. So I was like, okay, I guess it was God's will that I ended up in this performing arts school, and I ended up studying singing. I didn't do so hot in middle school. I had a lot of childhood traumas coming back to memory, and I didn't realize how much they had impacted me. So long story short, I struggled in middle school and I didn't do well. So when I graduated from 8th grade, I ended up getting kicked out the program, and I ended up going to my neighborhood school. I ended up having conversations with kids who were more involved and more engaged and knew more about how to progress your career, mainly how to get into college. So I was like, oh snap, I didn't know you actually had to participate and be in groups and stuff like that. So I started attending groups, and it was at that age in high school when I learned that I had leadership qualities. People would always pick me for leadership roles, and I never second guessed it. It would always be, hey, can you lead this team? Or hey, can you be a Sunday school teacher for this age group? And I'd be like, okay, I can do it. Like I just never thought about it. I guess because it was just in my nature. I ended up in leadership roles, and then around my 11th grade year, I got very involved in school. I got very involved in extracurricular activities. I was a National Honors, I don't even remember what it's called, National Honors Society, television production club, chemistry club, you name it. If there was a club and I had time for it, I was going to attend, because I had learned really late in my school career that for you to be qualified and to get into a decent school, you had to have all this stuff on your track record, basically. And I didn't know. I didn't know. So I was like, cool. I did all that. I racked them up. In those last 2 years, I even went as far as to sign up for AP classes and as many honors classes as I could. And then after that, I got into University of Florida. I got a scholarship. It was great. Studied speech pathology, got out of University of Florida, went into Nova Southeastern University for my graduate school education. And that's when I learned, oh my gosh, I hate being a speech pathologist. This sucks. So then I was like, okay, I gotta do something else. I was a server for several years. And during all this time, by the way, I was still landing leadership positions. I was always a leader, but I didn't know it was my gift. I think at the time I just thought that was an obligation, like a social obligation that you have to the world. I don't know. So I dropped out of grad school, and I ended up being a server for a couple of years longer. And I ended up staying as a server, not because I wanted to, but because around the time it was very hard to find a job. And then I ended up in an insurance company, which is what I was talking about in the previous video. So in the insurance company, I had learned, I've gotten a wealth of knowledge, and I'm super grateful for it. But after several years of being in that corporate position and leadership, it was inevitable that I had to leave. It got to a point where my mental health, it was shot to hell. My role started off as me being a leader, and my job was to take escalated calls, manage my team, made sure I gave them the support that they needed, did quality control, career coaching, career development, personal development, Like it was honestly, it was like my dream job, honestly. And my intention when I first got into the insurance company was to stay there forever. Like for me, it was the final stop. And then 2020 came, and then all of a sudden, no one knew how to run their businesses. It was crazy. I don't want to say that. I think too, 2020 brought some obstacles that no one was prepared for. My company was unfortunately one of the ones that was unprepared for it. I mean, the world lost their minds. I was working in insurance, but people would call in and complain about prices with Disney. And I mean, it was like, what are you doing? I didn't want to leave, but I knew I could call a spade a spade. I knew that my time as a supervisor was up. And so I did what I think everyone should do before they just take off from a company. I looked for other opportunities. I looked for as many other jobs as I could. I took a leave of absence. I went to go see a therapist. Even the therapist at one point was like, girl, you gotta go. So it got to a point where it was unbearable. And people always say, don't do this because this is risky. But when you get to a point in your job where you feel like I'm ready to walk away and burn bridges. Like if you're at the point where you're ready to burn bridges, you should probably talk to your manager and tell them how you feel. So I went to my manager and I said, look, I have done everything I could. I feel like I'm making myself available. I'm applying to all these other roles. I'm trying to, do other things. And he was very supportive. He was very encouraging, but he was also very honest. He was like, look, like, this is it. I left my job 4 months ago. I have yet to find another job, but during this time, what I've done is spend time doing the things that I never had time to do. So before, I didn't have time to hang out with my family as much. I didn't have time to go visit downtown. I didn't have time to go hang out at parks. I love parks, and not just theme parks, but like nature parks. I love biking. I did all those things. I am exploring and learning new skills. I'm learning how to edit, and then of course, I'm doing this. For the longest time, I stuck to the job, and I kept the job because I told people it was financial security, but in reality, it was an identity security crisis. I think I was more scared of what people would think of me if I had left this job not securing something and not having this certain title. To sacrifice your mental health because of that's crazy. That's wild. Like, so I decided not to do it anymore. But that's it. If you want to know more details, just comment below. But until next time, see ya. It started off, the role started off as me being a leader. This thing, it just keeps moving. It's so annoying. Okay. Anyway, it started off as me being a leader. So my role started off as